Hello, hello, Sigma Hooter signing on. Behind me is a spoiler wall for the mall, and as I was working on this mall, I had a bit of a realization, and that is I need to improve myself as a builder, because I have decided to get a bit more creative with how I approach this game, and as you can see here, I've kind of been experimenting, and as I was experimenting, I realized that, this isn't terrible, but it's not all that great either. And the only way to get better at anything is to practice. Now, a lot of builders use a tool called World Edit, and I'll admit I was putting off getting it because I don't have a server, and I was trying to figure out how to put it on my computer, and I was a little afraid of that, and I was like, ooh, there's a lot of files and downloads and zips and blah blah blah, and you know what? I figured it out, I got it, so we're just gonna go off into the distance here, and we're gonna start practicing. Alright, so when people start building, they always have an idea in their heads of what they want to build. And what I mean by that is when you pick up blocks to start building, you have in your head an idea of, I want to build a house. I want to build a store. I want to build a helicopter landing pad. Like, you have an idea of what the build is going to be, right? Like a barn or something. When I sat down to start practicing, I just looked at the blank green canvas on front of me and I was like, I have no idea what the heck I want to build. Kind of like artist's block, except for builders. So, it's like a building block. I cracked myself up. Anyway, so I looked to the internet for inspiration. I looked at different architectural styles around the world. I looked at some interesting buildings, but nothing really popped out at me. When I build things, I definitely like to rely on some Minecrafty elements that don't necessarily exist in the real world. It's like, the lack of consistent gravity. So, although I like to take inspiration from those buildings, there wasn't any particular building I wanted to recreate or reference heavily, right? So, of course, I turned to different Minecraft builds, and I encountered a similar issue in that nothing was, waving its arms, going ooh, pick me, I'm interesting to build, wouldn't you like to see something similar, to this? And yeah, I was not seeing it, castles are pretty, different, I know there's, cottage core and stuff, but, none of those styles just, nothing really struck me. So I decided to kind of stick with something I was familiar with, and that is on-site drawing, or still life drawing, however you'd like to call it. The basic premise for still life art is you take some items, or an individual item, and you put it in an arrangement, or a configuration, and then you just kind of plop it on a table or a pillar or a seat or something, and then you sit down with your drawing medium and your paper, and you just kind of put on the paper what you see. That's it. And it's pretty interesting. It can be challenging sometimes, especially if you're working with natural light sources and the sun shifts. You have to work kind of quickly sometimes. But it's interesting. And so I just decided to take that approach and apply it to this build. So I took some items that my sister had lying around, and I just kind of stuck them into a weird shape, right? I took a box with some earrings in it, a bracelet of hers, an old dry erase marker, and a weird neon orange propeller that was definitely part of one of those plastic truck things with the giant wheels at some point, but it's long since been separated, and I don't know why we still have it, but we do. So I just stuck that on top of the marker, which I put behind the box with the earrings in it, and I stuck the bracelet on top of the box. And I thought that was a particularly interesting shape, and I was actually really happy with it. So I decided to build that in Minecraft with blocks of wool colors. And once I was kind of happy with translating the shape over, and what I mean by that is, for example, adding the dome, moving the bracelet section over to make the build feel more cohesive. The marker was just too tall otherwise, it didn't feel right. So once I was done with that, adjustments, I added the base colors, and I've been struggling with color theory for years. I suck at it, and I wasn't expecting the colors to go well, and honestly, even in the end, I wasn't particularly happy with the colors, but I decided to go with the terracottas because they don't really have that same saturation that a lot of the colorful blocks in Minecraft do have, and that's something I appreciate, that's something I like, so I decided to work with those. And once I did that, I finished the ideas of what colors I was going to use. I started the detailing. And if you play Minecraft and you're a builder and you've pay attention to different buildings, then you know that the name of the game is depth. Depth is the name of the Minecraft building game. If you want something to look good, you have to have it at least 3 layers, right? So for the white section, I decided to add pillars and that's kind of like pulling out with the depth. So on top of that, with the red section, I decided to push in and create like an indentation for depth, just to kind of have that, like, not really a zigzag effect, but like an in and out type of thing. And unlike at the bottom where I kept the building white, different shades of white, but still just white, I decided to use other warm colors to decorate the insides of these pockets. So as you can see, I kind of used like I don't remember if it was the red sand or the orange concrete powder. I'm pretty sure it's orange concrete powder. And then like, red powdered concrete, the shroom lights, just warm colors. And I was using those to detail the insiding of these pockets, and I ran into a bit of an issue where I couldn't decide if I wanted these pockets to be symmetrical and to kind of stick to like a pattern and apply that throughout the build, like maybe mirror different sections and such, or if I wanted to do each section completely unique and randomized, or if I wanted to do that type of a thing, but like on each side of the building, because there's 4 sections, the 4 sides. And in the end, I ended up just doing a weird mix of everything. It's interesting because unlike the section at the bottom with the white, this is indented into the red box section. So it feels less in your face, I suppose. It's more like a subtle, not really subtle, but it's definitely not the primary focus of the building. It's not something that you notice right away when you look at the building. It's definitely like a side thing that you look at and you're like, oh, that's pretty cool. Now, for the back, I left the back for last for a reason I don't quite remember, because this building did take me several days. If you do anything, taking breaks in between is good, especially if you do some type of like a problem or you create some type of a piece, like not necessarily art, but like if you do, well, I was going to say sewing and things like that, but that's also can be technically considered an art. But taking breaks in between is always the way to go, because once you have rested brain, fresh eyes, you look at things and you go, oh, this, I can't believe I was doing that, or hey, that's actually a good idea. I can build off of that, and I've got some new inspiration for what my previous self was doing, and it's just that type of thing. So taking breaks in between and doing things over the course of several days is definitely the way to go when you're designing things. Yeah, so as I said, depth is the name of the game. So once I finished up this back section, I added a lip around the entirety of the red box section. And as I did say, I did this over several days, and I did forget to hit record when I was working on the top of the terracotta thing here. I messed around with a lot of, I was attempting to detail it and add some like texture to it, but like I said, it's too saturated in my opinion. Like I just didn't like it. It didn't fit with how I was envisioning the mood of the building to be. So once that I had taken a break and I didn't record, I had just kind of put on some like greenery type of things. I added red sand as a path, and I had tied in the blue to the front by adding some blue like into the front, or like there's like this weird fence thing I end up putting up, but that blue ends up connecting nicely. I also ended up moving on after that to this yellow section here, and of course I added a lip around the section between the glass and the terracotta because it added that depth I was speaking of. And I also decided I wanted the dome to slope a bit more, so I started putting down like a bunch of slabs, but I think I just ended up making it look more chunky, which doesn't look bad overall because it's not like a perfectly spherical dome, right? Like it's very lopsided, similarly to the circular propeller section up at the top. Like nothing about this build is properly circular. Yeah, so you can see here I was working on the glass, and I also did the dome. I added some greenery because greenery makes everything look prettier. If I've learned anything from watching Corrales, it's that you put bushes everywhere. Now, once I got to this back tower, I decided I wanted to do the type of fade in the colors that I couldn't really do with the rest of the building because the way it was oriented, like it just wasn't tall enough. It was too small. So I did that color change texture thingy on it, and I was actually pretty happy with how it turned out. I just pulled up like one of those like block hue like map things, and I just kind of referenced that. I have seen a bunch of them floating around. I have no idea which one I used, but those things are very helpful. Up at the top for the propeller I was referencing in the real life when I was looking at the orange one was very, like, I don't know, not what I ended up doing here. I wanted it to look industrial almost, because I was imagining like a windmill, except, with the wrong orientation. It's not supposed to be facing upwards. That building is way too heavy for liftoff. So I didn't like how industrial I ended up making it feel. So to kind of combat that, I just added swings to it. Yeah, there's no rhyme or reason to this building. At this point, if you haven't figured that out, then I apologize. There's no method to this. I don't know if Fever Dream is a style of building, but if not, I will gladly claim that, because that is what this is shaping up to be. Nothing about this makes much sense. Even in Minecraft, I think adding swings to a giant industrial propeller is just kind of odd. Once I had finished that, I started thinking to myself that this tower looked too plain. It didn't have the same level of detail as the rest of the building, in my opinion. So, windows. And not only do the windows add some more busyness to this tower, which was otherwise just kind of blank, it also ties the build together, because remember, the bottom is white, we have some white glass scattered into the dome, the top of the propeller is white, and now there was some white glass in this tower, and then with the blue, it also adds in, because the backs of the seats are blue, some of the fence and posts on the red section were blue, and then in front, with that fake little like mini Parthenon section, the base of that, the floor, that was also blue. So by adding all that, and of course, leaves, I created a build that felt more, I don't want to say alive, but it did feel more alive to me. It made me happy. It made me happy. This is kind of what I was looking for. I was satisfied with how this building ended up looking. It's not what I envisioned when I sat down, but this is kind of what I got, and this is something I don't think I would change. I tried to think of, what could I have done better? What could I have maybe changed? The only thing I maybe would have done was add some windows on like the red section of the tower. And oh gosh, I'm looking at this, I realized that towards the bottom with the white pillars, there's like a bunch of weird particles. That must be a replay thing. I've seen that before. Yes, but that aside, I was very happy with how this came out. I feel like I learned a lot about my own process, because most of it was just kind of debating with how to start. And now that I know how I like to start my buildings, I feel like I'll be more confident in putting builds together in the future. I do think I have to work on the color. I'm not happy with how the red section came out entirely, but I don't think I could have done any better at this point in time. Maybe it's something I'll visit in the future. But as far as first like real builds go, especially with like trying to figure how world edit works, I think I did a pretty good job. Yeah, and as everything fades out into the void, this has been Sigma Who, and I'm signing off.